Let's turn our attention to what I believe is the greatest weekend in sports. I love Wild Card Weekend. I'm not going to call it Super Wild Card Weekend because I think that that's lame. I love Wild Card Weekend, but Divisional Round, this is where it gets real. This is where you win to have a right to play for the Super Bowl championship Sunday. It doesn't get much better than this. You got the full slate of 4 games starting with 4 o'clock on Saturday. As a matter of fact, this weekend's so much fun that my friends and I, we usually get together, like my closest friends and I, we usually get together for one weekend in January. And it used to be, I don't know, wild card weekend or championship weekend. It could just be a random one of the playoff weekends we would get together. And then we started to, over the last couple of years, hone in on this divisional round. And I think it's a great thing because championship Sunday is great. But then Saturday you meet and you really don't have any games. Sunday you get the 2 games and that's that. Divisional round, wild card's too crazy because you got games all over the place. But when you got friends coming out of town, I got one buddy, my buddy Wink, coming in from Milwaukee, Saratoga Wills, who some of you may be familiar with. I've had him on my shows at the Fan or podcast. He's coming down from Saratoga. We get all set, and that's what it's about for me. Like, we're going to be betting the games, watching the games. The food order is out of control. We got pizza. We're actually going to try. There's a bagel spot in Queens, Utopia Bagels, I think it's called, where they have this enormous pizza bagel. Saratoga Wills, I think, saw it on TikTok, and we're all like, yeah, let's try that. So we're gonna get that. Anyway, not that you need to know the details, but the food is gonna be Super Bowl-esque for 2 straight freaking days. And by the way, you know what my wife's worried about? I got my friends coming over. I'm excited for the game. We're all pumped up about it. The food order, all this. Today she's telling me I got to clean the back door glass window because it's dirty from Maddox putting his paws on it when he's trying to get in. He doesn't bark for some reason. He likes scratching the glass. That's what we need. But it's all dirty. I'm like, you think my friends give a shit what that door looks like? They're going to worry about the chips and dip and what food we got and what drinks we got going. They wouldn't even notice the back door. And I don't even notice the back door. Hey, it's not your friends. If it were her friends coming over, I could understand that. My friends, they can't give a shit about the glass door. Anyway, let's get to the games because that's what's important here. First game, you get the Broncos and Bills. And I really hate that this is the first game because to me, this is one of the best games. This should be a prime matchup here. Really Saturday night, Sunday afternoon. I understand why they do it the way that they do it. The Chicago market, LA, they're making that game the prime game. But the game that intrigues me the most this weekend is, in fact, the Bills and Broncos. And if you listened to any of BT and I during the course of the year on the Fan, you knew or you know that I'm a big Broncos believer and have been all year long. However, I am now riding Josh Allen in this postseason. I had them last week to beat the Jaguars. It was one of the couple of games that I actually won a week ago. And Denver's a daunting place to play, to go there on the road, playoff atmosphere, great head coach in Sean Payton, nasty defense, maybe not as nasty as the Texans, but still a nasty defense. Not going to be easy. Bills banged up a little bit. They've been hanging on for dear life here, winning these games by the skin of their teeth, but they do it because Josh Allen might, in fact, be Superman. And I'm not betting against Superman and the Bills. So as much as I love Denver and think that that's a difficult place to play, as a matter of fact, if New England were to go to Denver, and that would be the case if both Denver and New England win, I would pick the Broncos. But New England, while they may have the MVP in Drake May, they don't have Josh Allen, who I think is the best player left in the tournament. Give me the Bills on the road plus 1.5. I don't think the points will make a difference here, but I think the Bills figure out a way to go in there and upset the Broncos, mild upset, whatever. But, Bo Nix, all year long, the one thing that was holding me from going over the top about Denver was Bo Nix. I don't know if the week off is going to maybe make Denver a little stale. Who the hell knows how that's going to play out? We've seen that happen before, though, with the bye week. It's maybe not necessarily I know you want the rest, but sometimes it could hurt you, killing some of the momentum that you had. But Bo Nix is the biggest issue there. I think everything else is on par to be a team that could go to the Super Bowl, except the quarterback. So the head coach, huge advantage Denver. Quarterback, huge advantage, maybe even bigger Buffalo. That's why I'm going to go with Josh Allen and the Bills, game number 1. By the way, I reserve the right to change my mind as we record this late Thursday night. As a matter of fact, into the wee hours of Friday morning. The way that I bet these games or get a feel for these games, I have an idea like I do now. And then come Saturday morning, Closer to game time, I start to even dive in a little bit more and get more of a gut feel, and then boom, I'll pull the trigger. Same thing Sunday. So, right to reserve my mind here, but this is how I feel right now, and most likely is the way that I'll go. I don't understand the line in the Saturday night game. Niners, Seahawks. Now, the league screwed the Niners. Shanahan basically begged for it after the game, saying, I hope the league is kind to us and puts us on Sunday. Obviously, coming off of a short week with the Niners playing on Sunday, banged up. The Seahawks on a bye, so they're well rested. And the league didn't do the Niners any favors. Kittle, is not going to be there for this game. I mean, he wouldn't have been there Sunday either, so that doesn't matter. But just the fact that the Niners had to travel back from Philly, go back across the West Coast, then up to Seattle, and play them on a short week while Seattle's fully rested, you would think would favor the Seahawks. I know what happened last time these two teams played. Seattle, a 7-point favorite. Give me the Niners all day, every day. I think the Niners are better. I think they're the better coach team. Now, they may not have the better defense. Obviously, that goes with the Seahawks. Seahawks could have a nasty defense. Niners defense is a sieve. We've seen that. But just, I see this being a tighter game. It's a 7-point spread. You think Seattle and Sam Darnold are going to blow the Niners out? I don't. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anything could happen. We know that. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's more likely the Niners win this game outright than they get blown out. So I'll gladly take the 7 points in this game and take my chances with those points. And I might do a little something money line as well, because I just feel like the 49ers are the better team. And this is a year where they surprisingly go on a run. Really, it's been that way from the beginning, with Mac Jones carrying them to start the year when Brock Purdy was down. But Purdy's a far better quarterback than Sam Darnold. Shanahan, to me, is a better head coach than McDonald. Give me the Niners +7. The line's so fishy, in fact. If it were 4.5, I'd be like, I don't know. The fact that it's 7 points, give me the Niners in game number 2. Then to Sunday, obviously they're all fun games here, all huge games. I'm not going to overreact to what we saw in the wild card round. Whether it's the Texans defense scoring the 2 touchdowns, shutting down the Steelers offense, I think that's a lot about the Steelers as well. They just didn't have a good offense. So I'm not going to overreact. I know the Texans defense is legit and it's great. And I'm also not going to overreact in a negative way to the Patriots and their performance, because even though they won and ended up winning with ease down the stretch of that game, dominating defensively on Justin Herbert, he looked awful. I think and Drake May was not very good, and maybe a little jitters in first postseason game. I would expect a much better effort from New England, and I don't want to say doubting them all year long, but not fully believing in New England this year. I think they win this game. I think the Texans have become a darling, and I can understand it. DeMeco Ryans easy to fall in love with, nice guy. The defense is great, so who doesn't love a great lights out defense like that? The best defense in the NFL. But I don't think the Texans are good enough, certainly not offensively, to go into New England and beat Drake May and that Patriots off. The running game as well. Vrabel, a very good head coach in his own right. I would put him better than DeMeco Ryans, even though the defense favors the Texans. All the other categories, head coach, check with Vrabel. And then the quarterback play, as bad as Drake May was in that game, God, C.J. Stroud, I don't know if you could be worse. He was awful. What has happened to C.J. Stroud? So I'm going to side with the better coach, better quarterback, and they're at home, and I think the better overall team, even though the Texans have the better defense. Give me the Patriots -3.5 at home. Wish it wasn't a half, but whatever. You do what you got to do. Lay the 3.5. And then for the finale, and this is the game that's kind of got me twisted up here. And I've said this now. I've done multiple guest spots this week. The regular guest spot that I do with Jimmy Traina on the SI Media podcast. And then I was on with Nick Costos, my buddy, on his You Bet or You Bet or You Bet show, the national show that he does. And I said the same thing. And Jimmy didn't like it. Costos did. Make what you will of that. But Francesa used to tell me, not me, he used to tell everybody, and then probably told me off the air too, but he would say this on the air, and I remember this as a listener, as a caller, and then certainly when I was working with him on the Mike and the Mad Dog show, that, the famous line, if you weren't there for the wedding, don't be there for the funeral. And that's how I feel with the Bears, because I've never believed in them all year long. So if I weren't there for the wedding to reap the benefits of maybe betting on the Bears or picking the Bears or believing in the Bears, then I don't want to show up for the funeral, meaning that this could be the time where the clock strikes midnight on their Cinderella Chicago story with Caleb Williams. And I'd rather lose with something that I believed in for the majority of the year, meaning against the Bears, not believing in the Bears. I'd rather lose like that than switch to the Bears now and be like, you know what? They proved me wrong against the Packers because I thought the Packers were going to win that game. And by the way, they should have. And now be like, how are they getting 4 points at home against the Rams? Because my initial read on this game was looking at it saying, what the hell? I think it was actually 4.5 earlier in the week. How are the Bears getting 4.5 points at home? Plus, the other thing here is the Rams have not been good. Dating back to the loss where they lost on Monday Night Football to the Falcons in a game that they had to have to stay alive for the 1 seed in the NFC West. And I know that game well, not because I grew up a Falcons fan, but because I picked the Rams in a knockout pool. And they killed me in that one. But they haven't been playing good football since. Even with the Panthers, I thought the Rams were going to roll the Panthers in the wild card round. And they didn't. They're lucky they won the game. So do I think McVay's a better head coach than Ben Johnson? I do. Do I think Stafford's a better quarterback than Caleb Williams, even with the thumb issue? I do. And Caleb Williams continues to make big plays. I don't know how he's doing it. The routine, easy plays he struggles with, but the incredible plays, 4th and 8, roll to his left, throwing a dime down the field. I mean, that is just impressive. I think the head coach quarterback combination are better with the Rams. I think the Rams are the better team. I've thought the majority of the year, or at least a large portion of the year, the Rams were, if not the best team in the NFC, certainly one of the best teams in the NFC. So am I going to go against that now just because the initial look at that line is, wow, Bears +4 at home? I don't think I could do that. I think I'm going to, if I wasn't there for the wedding, I'm not going to show up for the funeral. Give me the Rams -4 Sunday to close things out. And as much as this weekend is, in my opinion, the greatest weekend in sports, there is such a huge letdown after that game ends, 9:30-ish, whatever time ends, Sunday night, and you sit there, and I'll be with my buddies and whatever, hanging out, but you sit there and think about, oh, man, there are just 3 football games left. That's it. That's it. So the excitement of wild card round and all these games and the divisional round and all these games, after this weekend, 3 football games remain. So there is some sadness that sets in, knowing that it will soon be over. All right. So again, loose picks here. Bills, Niners. Give me the Patriots at home to cover that spread, and give me the Rams. I hate picking favorites. And I know last week the public one, whatever it is, I'm going to go against the public too. I factor that in on game day. We'll see where the public's at with that. But for now, there you have it with the picks.